not to slate these guys, but Sam Reynolds, Matt Jones, Brendan Fairclough, like they're riding at the minute. I feel really horrible saying it, but I just don't think that's targeting a younger generation.
Uh-huh.
Like that's like middle-aged men content and middle-aged men riding. All of them rip, all of them are absolutely awesome riders, but I just think for the next generation coming through, are these people going to be who they're looking at? And Council Estate Boy, all I've ever seen is drugs, violence, and rock and roll. Really, like my town is pretty. It's so easy to get sucked into that lifestyle, and seeing a lot of my friends from school who obviously are no longer my friends now, like they obviously went down the wrong route, and yeah, just seeing that, I never wanted to be around that,
Right.
and
Leo Smith, aka Lando Steezy, welcome to the Downtime podcast, man. How's things with you today?
good. Thanks for having me on, and yeah, hopefully get an insight of what I've been up to and a bit about myself.
Definitely, man. Yeah, it'd be super interesting to find out a bit more about you. Before we do that, tell me where Lando Steezy comes from.
The question everyone wants to know.
Yeah.
Pretty basic, really. Like the story's not that great. So before I actually uploaded any riding clips, my job was a photographer and full time. And I think Leo Smith sounded like any white male photographer. So I was like, probably do something different. And I don't know, it just popped into my head, just do that. And I think it's such a memorable name that, yeah, just kind of stuck.
Definitely, man.
That's
Well,
the last person that asked me that was my mum about a week ago. She's like, "Why actually is it that?" I was like, "How haven't you asked me this before?" But yeah, so
incredible.
it's
Yeah,
pretty basic.
how long have you been known as Lando Steezy now then?
But say nearly 3 years.
Okay.
But my Instagram's been that for as long as I can remember, like probably over 5 years. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Give us some background then. Where did you grow up? Born in Manchester or?
No. So Macclesfield, born and bred. I've actually moved back to Macclesfield on the end of December,
Okay.
but I'm still in Manchester just as much. But I moved to Manchester, so I'm 25 now. Moved to Manchester at 20 just to get a bit of different insight to life. Yeah, learned so much whilst I was there as well. Like I highly advise anyone coming from a town to move to a city, and you soon come to realize like how much life can be different and so much opportunity in the city. Went straight into like a marketing job there, and I think from being a photographer, marketing was just a hand in hand job. And yeah, did my marketing for like two years maybe. Then I just saw that riding was going one way, and you know I'm just gonna bite the bullet and quit my job. So I quit my job, earning next to nothing, and luckily it's worked out now. But yeah, took a big risk, and but I've always still like kept my toe in marketing. It's like I'm still marketing now just for myself. So
Yeah.
definitely a hand in hand role from that to now. But yeah, started in Macclesfield, moved to Manchester, and now I'm back to square one. Who knows how
Awesome.
long for? But
It's all good, man. It's all good. So
yeah,
how do bikes fit into your life? Did you start off with BMX?
yeah. So I think around 12, 13, it was BMX just because skate parks like literally my back window is just next to me now. You can see the skate park from the window. So skate park was just there, and yeah, just it was all my friends knew really. So it was riding every day to the point of skiving school and riding. So I was doing more riding than school, and yeah, just that was it. Then started traveling a bit and meeting so many new people. Like it's weird now seeing that Kieran Riley's at the point he is because I remember Kieran Riley when he's like 8 years old, and you know it's stoked to see that go that way. And a lot of the team GB team, like I used to ride with all them, so I've always been around high level of riding. But
Uh-huh.
then I think around so I did my bits and bobs in the competition. Then around 18, I was just like a bit over it. Like riding wasn't fun anymore. All my friends started working, so no one was riding. Then yeah, just dropped it. But then I never sold my BMX. My BMX was always there. So it was like I knew if I wanted to, I could just jump back on. Then it kind of went from So 18 to 20 was just pure photography and learning the music industry.
Uh-huh.
All my friends are musicians as well, so it's good to have like I was the rider and the photographer, whereas they was all the musicians. And it's even weird now, like 18. Um, I posted on my story the other day a picture of me and Boo in the studio, who's a drum and bass artist,
Yeah.
and so many people replied to it like as if you know Boo, but then I knew Boo before Boo was Boo, so it's like seeing now that everyone that I've been with from early has started to like make their own career and sort of get in this famous space. It's now like such a big thing when I do post with like my friends who are now musicians. And yeah, so 18 to 20 was just doing that solid. Then whilst living in Manchester, it was actually like the wheelie kids that made me want to ride again.
Okay. Is that like the
So
12 o'clock boys?
yeah, 12 o'clock Scots, I call them.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing them guys, it was like, I didn't want to do wheelies because I still can't wheelie to this day, but it was just something about like their riding and culture. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go skate park because the indoor park Greystone was like 5 minutes from where I was living. Then as soon as I got into there, like I saw all my old friends and they're like, where have you been hiding? I was just like, I don't know. Then the first day I rid, it was like nothing had changed. It was like I still had all my old tricks. I was still riding the same way I was when I was younger. So I think that weaned me in. Then, so I still had a BMX at this point, but then it was only about a month after that. It was like the start of COVID.
Yeah.
So some places were open, some weren't. And yeah, back to the 12 o'clock boys. I was like, I'm going to build a mountain bike that's kind of like theirs, but not. So the first thing I bought was a dirt jumper because
Okay.
I always wanted one. I wanted a dirt jumper from well young. It was just like stupidly priced. So never did that. Then yeah, built up a Octane one, which pretty solid. I give it the G that for a cheap bike, a cheap frame on chain reaction, it did handle some abuse. So yeah, then yeah, straight from there it was into Dirt Factory,
Yeah.
and that was the indoor place in Manchester, which I'm gutted to see it go. But like I speak back and forth with the manager there pretty much every day, so they're working their overtime to get that back up and running. And yeah, they'll have a new spot soon. So yeah, just riding there and met a ton of people, and it just spiraled from there really, just straight out mountain bike. And yeah, that's pretty much the journey of how it started to the start of mountain biking.
Amazing. Before we get stuck into the mountain bike side of stuff, how did the music thing become part of life? Like, I'm interested how you found your way into that.
So I think from school, like these are my best friends, like, and they all wanted to DJ. And Haribo is like, so when Food does his shows in the UK, America, New Zealand, Haribo will host them.
Uh-huh.
So Boo will DJ, Haribo will MC, and yeah, he's like my best friend. So it was just he's taking me place to place, and whilst he's taking me place to place, I'm networking. So
Yeah.
while he's on stage, I'll be backstage, like networking with industry people, and yeah, it just kind of worked like that. Then before you know it, same with riding. Once you meet one person, you've met 10 people. So it was like just went from spot to spot, and yeah, just traveling around and meeting new people and shooting some amazing gigs, meeting some famous people. Like it's just crazy that I've had that part of my life, and it'd be quite easy for me to go straight back into it as well. But I just think the way that I'm riding at the minute, I need to make sure that I'm staying focused on one thing. But I still always have my camera with me, and no matter where I am, there'll always be a camera in my bag, whether I pull it out that day or not. Doesn't really bother me anymore, but there's always a camera on me. So.
Amazing. So was photography like a hobby that got a bit out of control, or did you actually go study it?
So I'm actually still in my final year of uni now, but I only go 1 day a week,
Uh-huh.
so it gives me plenty of time to ride. And yeah, so it was a hobby, but I like when I speak to other photographers, I started getting paid from photography way quicker than what like any photographer did, and I think that's just because I was in the space, right time, meeting the right people, and yeah, so it just became a job quite instantly, and yeah, I loved it because, and I still love it now because, like I said in the Shimano edit, when anytime you pick up a camera, you make the rules. Like you make your choice of what you're going to shoot, and that was the aspect that just gripped me straight away.
Very
And I
nice.
think with my mum loves painting, and she's like a wicked artist. So I think having that creative side ingrained in me was like, yeah, it was always going to happen. Me doing something creative and not doing the 9 to 5 route.
Good stuff, man. So yeah, so mountain biking started to like feature in your life. Was your riding
Yeah,
like prior to mountain biking kind of street park like focused, more?
yeah. So I've never like stuck myself into one thing. I like day by day, I'd always ride different things. But when I was made like deep into BMX and I had a few sponsors behind me, um, everyone around me rode street, but I rode park. So it's like I'm always going to have to be influenced because wherever they go, I go. So I've always had like a heavy street influence, and Kevin Peraz has always been my favorite rider, and seeing that he can ride anything and everything is always like massive influence from him to pretty much do my own thing. Then Nigel Sylvester as well, like seeing what he's doing now with riding and like fashion, etc. Like that was just a massive inspiration to go down that route of don't just put all your eggs in one basket and broaden yourself to ride everything.
Yeah. So was it natural then that when you moved to a mountain bike, it was the sort of street park kind of side of
Yeah,
riding that you got into first?
yeah, because Manchester, so we only had Dirt Factory close, but then Farmer John's wasn't far away. So it was like in between them two, why not just ride street? Because Manchester's wicked for street as well. So there's always all a bit of that really. Then even the outdoor parks in Manchester, they're very like street orientated, as well as I grew up obviously in Macclesfield, which Macclesfield's right in the middle of Stoke and Manchester. So I always had the opportunity to go to Stoke to ride street because their street plaza there is absolutely insane. It's like one of the biggest ones in Europe as well, and it's always empty. Like there's hardly any people ever there, which baffles me. But always had the opportunity to ride either street or park.
Yeah. Amazing. So how's it been then, like adapting like that style of riding and that approach into like the woods basically? Because you're getting out
Yeah,
much more now into like the more, I guess, traditional, like earlier phase of mountain biking when it was just about playing on bikes in the woods.
yeah. So it's being from Macclesfield, I've got Mac Forest. Josh Bryson, he's a local lad, and he's most known for riding Mac Forest. Same with Sam Dale. He only lives like 5 minutes from me as well. So seeing them boys, I've always knew that Mac Forest is on my doorstep. And yeah, Bergtech is also in the same town as me, their HQ, and just I've always kept up to date with them guys, and knowing that that's on my doorstep, it was like I've got to make it kind of hand in hand. And yeah, adapting onto the mountain bike was really hard at the start, and I could never get used to the suspension setup. It really like baffled me. Then anytime anyone would ride my bike, they're like, "Why is it so stiff?" But to me, that's just how it should have felt. But now it's like I've softened it up and kind of learned that. But I think that learning curve of changing my body position, that was so hard to get used to. But I still think sometimes now I'm still like trying to get used to some steep tech stuff, but I like that learning aspect. And yeah, I think the biggest learning curve from it all was just getting that body position right and riding in a way that's like not like I'm on the dirt jumper. But yeah, it's massive learning curve and still going now. But the transition was awesome because I've always loved outdoors, and the fact that now that I can be outdoors anywhere I want is just amazing.
Yeah, it's been cool to watch. I think you said in the Shimano edit that came out recently, you told a bike shop mechanic you were going to be the biggest fat black athlete on a mountain bike,
Yeah,
and you
it's
weren't
funny.
stopping until it's done.
Yeah, it's funny because he always comes back to me as that, and it's it's so mad because when I said that to him, I think we'd only just met for like we'd only been mates for a month, but that must have been like 2 years ago now, and he's still my best mate, and like not even my mechanic anymore. I'll just go see him, and yeah, we always just chop it up and have a good laugh. And I think if anyone keeps me most grounded, it's either him or his boss. Like any issues I have, I'll always go speak to them, and they'll help me out massively. So even though he's like even though he's my mechanic, he is like a crutch for me to lean on, and just kind of let some steam off with. So awesome to have them people around you.
Yeah. Where does that strength of motivation come from then? What made you go, right, this is what I want to go out and achieve?
Just basically like where I grew up. So council estate boy. All I've ever seen is drugs, violence, and rock and roll. Really, like my town is pretty. It's so easy to get sucked into that lifestyle, and seeing a lot of my friends from school who obviously are no longer my friends now, like they obviously went down the wrong route, and yeah, just seeing that, I never wanted to be around that, and I think that move to Manchester was like a real eye opener. Of I'm only 25 minutes away, but I'm so far away from that lifestyle. I don't need to get into that lifestyle. I don't need to be around that. And even when I move back now, it's like no one ever changed from 5 years ago. So I'm so happy I did move. And I think that just fueled the fire of, I can just kind of make my own rules and go with it that way. And the motivation side definitely just comes from seeing people go down the wrong path and knowing that I'm only one left turn of going down that same path. Like it'd be so easy for me to get sucked into that. And yeah, I just don't want that for my life, really.
Fair play, man. And you're only a couple of years into this like mission that you've set yourself up on, like, and you've come a long way already. How have you approached it? Like, tell us a little bit about that last couple of years and how
everything was so new. So yeah, back to Dirt Factory. I met Tom, who's Marin's sales rep, and I think we just hit it off straight away. Like, got on really well, and he's done a hell of a lot for me. Even aside from him working for Marin, I think not to slate Marin, Tom did probably more for me than what the brand did. Like in terms of if I needed to get places, he'd come to my house, pick me up, and do that. Then I think Tom just got the deal over the edge and just got me in with them guys. And yeah, just riding for Marin was like big eye opener. But then I always felt like something was missing, and then yeah, it was like I don't know, it was like a sponsor, but it wasn't like really in depth. The connection that we had wasn't like great, but I do appreciate everything they did for me, and they got me into a space where it's like I can start to meet people and work my own way out. But then I think the biggest hit was when just randomly out of the blue, Schwalbe hit me up for that was my first paid contract as well. So it was like they just hit me up out of the blue and was like, "Do you want to ride for us?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I think that's really when the ball started rolling, because the connection I had with the guys in Germany was like they always wanted to know what I was doing, always well tapped in, and you just get a feeling for it when you're in this industry. It's like what's a good relationship, and what's kind of just put on the back burner. Then from there, I met who did I meet from Bergtech? I met one of the guys from Bergtech anyway. Then at this point, I didn't know that they was Macclesfield based, so it was like I didn't know they was local. But then the first time I met them, I just went to the HQ and they just showed me around, and it was literally like friends that I've been friends with for like 10 years. It just clicked straight away. And that was like a massive eye opener, because Dan, who's the head boy at Bergtech, he knows everyone.
Yeah.
So I think he just pushed me into a space and gave me the advice that I needed to kind of just go full at it. And any idea that I had, I'd always be like, is this a good idea? And the photographer at Bergtech as well, Dave, he is so wicked how he has such a big knowledge of the industry, but also he does all the photography that you see on their page, and just going in and chopping it up with him really, and just getting his insight and always sponging off him to get like my own mindset of what I need to do. That was like another massive push. Then it just went rolling from there. And yeah, I got a really funny story, to be fair, about the Shimano Ansel video. I actually ignored their email for like 3 months because I didn't know who they were. Then my videographer Noah, who I work with all the time, I was like, mate, who the hell are Ansel? And he's like, you can't be for real. I was like, I don't know. I came from BMX. Like, I don't know who these guys are. Then Noah's like, you need to reply to that email right now. And at this point, I didn't know it was Shimano that the video was for as well. So it was like, they've just come to me with, like, this is what we want to do. This is how we want it to look. Then straight away, just got into a meeting with them, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a Shimano video. We want to put this budget towards it and make it work." And the way them guys worked was just so professional. It was like something I've never seen before, and to the point of every shot you saw in that video, it took like 30 minutes to film each shot. Even if it was like a 2-second clip, they'd really like structure it, and they wanted everything to just look immaculate, which it did come out that way. So I'm happy for it. And learning how them guys work is mad. To the point now, like they said, I can go out to Canada and ride with them anytime and have that friendship. But yeah, I just find it so funny how I went so long with like, not really feeling this. I don't know who these people are. I don't know if it's real. Because at that point, like, I didn't have a following. I didn't have nothing. And I was like, more to the point, how did they know who I was? How did they know about my whole life? So yeah, they like they came to me with basically my whole life story without even meeting me. I was like, how do these guys know everything? Like, is this actually on? But yeah, got it over the board, and that video was filmed. When was it? April last year.
Okay.
So we had onto it for a while because they were still releasing stuff that they filmed in COVID. So they had like a backlog, and that's why it came out so much later. But that was a surreal moment, even to the point of when they came over to Manchester. They said to me straight away, like, we're going to be here for 4 days, let us learn the culture. And yeah, took them out to everywhere, all the best spots in Manchester. And yeah, you could tell as well, like, them coming over from Squamish, they really nailed like what it's like to live in Northern England. And the point, like when they came over as well, they stayed one road away from where my apartment was, just so they could really feel out like that area and be around it. So
that's amazing.
It was wicked. Just everything to do with working with them was just like solid, and yeah, made some good friends for life throughout the process.
That sounds awesome. Did you dislocate your knee at the start of that shoot?
Yeah, on the second day.
Oh man!
And it's funny. There's a clip outside the footy ground where this is the most baffling thing. All I did was a 180 as well, and it was like the snap out on cabin out. It just went. But then I turned around to them. I was like, my knees just came out, and they're like, no, it's not. I was like, honest to God, my knees coming out. Then Will, the photographer, was like, do this, and you'll be fine. So we just like knocked it back in, and like I was fine. Later that night, I couldn't walk, but then we was like, that's why there's not many clips on the dirt jumper in it, which I didn't mind because I didn't actually want the video to be like an edit. I didn't want it to be banger after banger. I just wanted it to be quite subtle. So everything you saw on the trail bike was all with a dislocated knee that had just been put back in the day before.
Oh man, that is not a good way to start a shoot like that, huh?
Yeah. Well, they came so far to film, so I was like, I can't send you home empty-handed. And yeah, it's like at the start of the video as well when I shoot the picture. No, that's why I literally can't walk, because that was the last thing we filmed, and I literally was like done. But yeah, couldn't send him home empty-handed, so we had to get it done.
Good effort, man. And I guess that video like has really pushed you forward, like onto the world stage of mountain biking, like Pink Bike homepage, all of that. What's the response been like?
The first day was like I had to turn my phone off because I'm one of them. Like I can deal with comments, but then I just don't think one human should take in that much emotion in a day. So it was like I'm taking in a lot here. Let me just have a day off, and I like to reply to everyone I can. And even in my inbox now, there's only like a small selection of people that I've not replied to. So I'll always like say thanks, and you know, if a kid's asking a question, I'll always give them the reply. And the response was just mental. And but the whole time, Ansel kept saying to me like, "You do know, like this is going to be the one. This is going to really change." And I think they prepared me mentally for it. So that was like a big boost of, like, they've got my back. Like, this is going to happen, whether you like it or not, kind of thing. And yeah, seeing that pink bike main page, because even from BMX, everyone knows what pink bike is. Like, pink bike was a massive forum back then. So having the main page was just like, oh, this is a bit crazy. And sick picture as well. Will Brignall's my favourite photographer in the biking industry, and having the opportunity to work with him, and I've actually just spoke to him this morning as well, planning another shoot. So it's just awesome having Will around as well. Like, he's only in Liverpool, and honestly, his work is like, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's anyone better in the UK than Will with his camera. And seeing what he's done for Nukeproof, Rocky Mountain, EWF is like, it's just so different. It's such a different style of what we're used to seeing. And I think because Will's still quite young, he has such a modern look on what he wants his photography to look like. So yeah, working with him was just awesome. And seeing that even in the article, like, me and Will was on FaceTime, as if they just used every picture. Like, we thought he was just going to use 5 pictures, but they actually took in about 20. And it was like, we just couldn't believe like the marketing that went into the video, and just everything around it was just so professionally set up. And I think they really nailed with rolling it out. And I remember I only got told the night before that it's out at 8 a.m., which was like super short. So I'm sat there thinking at like 4 to 8 in the morning, it's like, they've not even sent me a trailer. I was like, I've not even got a trailer yet. Like, what am I gonna do? And yeah, luckily, like, when it got posted, they tagged me in. So now they've got the new collaborator thing on Instagram. So it's like, that helps massively. Then it's just like, yeah, it's out. But I think everyone realised now this is why the Nukeproof announcement was held off for so long.
Yeah.
So even though the guys at Nukeproof was fine with it, and I do actually still have one more video filmed on the Marin, but it ends basically on the Nukeproof. So it's like a journey of basically what I've seen in the industry so far. So it's not going to be like a crossover sponsorship. It's just going to be a big journey of basically where it started. It's targeting diversity, so it's like, features a lot of different riders from around the UK, and yeah, it's just one big long journey. So that's going to come out some point in this year. Just waiting for Adidas's schedule on when they're going to release it.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing that. How did the Nukeproof hookup come out then?
So this is the wildest story, and I can't even believe it's real. So I'll give you some perspective on the day of making the connection. This day, I give Ratboy a mullet, I give Dave a mullet, drew my tattoos on Dave's face, partied with Danny McGaskill, and went out with Dunk Shaw. So that was like the start of my day.
Standard.
So you already know what happened. The beers were going, and John Moss. John Moss is like really good friends with the guys at Nukeproof, a lad from Newcastle, and I just got on with him really well. And we was just talking. He's like, "Listen, mate," he's like, "you need to be on Nukeproof." I was like, "Mate, that's never gonna happen." And we was just pissed. Like, we was drinking. Sorry for my language, but yeah, we was just drinking all day. And he's like, "You need to do it." And so that was at Melvin's Classic. So that must have been in August, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, he really got into my head that day. But I was like, it's never gonna happen. Like, that can't happen. It's like, it won't work. So I put it off. I didn't even entertain the thought until December, where I was like, Marin offered me another year, but they didn't offer me anything different of what I was already on. But earlier in the year, they said, we can change this in your contract, we can do that. And no matter what idea I had, it was never going to be a Matt Jones idea. It was never going to be a Martha Gill idea. So it was just like, well, Nuke Proof's in every magazine at the minute. Nuke Proof was like, they're massive into like filming, and you can just tell with Nuke Proof, everything just looked right and everything looked so strategic. So I was like, I think it was December the 1st. So for those listening that don't know how riding works, it's like usually you get your negotiations around November, and you kind of get your answer back just before December, like end of the month. So it's like I'd missed that window, but at the same time, I was like, I've just got to do it. Like I did have two other brands on board that was keen to take me on, but I just could never see myself fitting in their style of like how they push their stuff up.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, I've just got to do it. Then I followed Rob, who's the team manager at Nuke Proof, and he runs a hell of a lot of stuff at Nuke Proof besides team manager. And he was already following me, so I was like, this is a push of like, yeah, I was like, this is a boost of confidence. And I just messaged him like really nice email, like, look, like huge fan of Nuke Proof, and I think with the release of the Dirt Jumper, and like the Gig has always been my favorite bike, so I was like, I think that I could really, push my career as well as show Nuke Proof in a new way that I don't really think Nuke Proof's been shown before. And straight away, he was like, yeah, like he was just on board. And what I was saying I want to do this year, he was like super supportive. And the fact that he's the only person in mountain biking that I've met that loves football as much as myself. So we had such like a mutual conversation, and it started off in mountain bike and then it went to football, and it's like I spoke to Rob now more times than I spoke to like most of my other partners, and it's like, yeah, this is just a friendship that's going to progress onto like a riding relationship. And yeah, now like even though he's the team manager of the company I ride for, like I see him as a really strong friend as well. So it just fit like so perfect. And yeah, so I've actually been riding that dirt jumper since December, and it's been so hard to stay out of like the public eye. So whilst all the kids were in school, I was out riding and took a trip to Barcelona, which we filmed. We did film and edit out there, but then as it got closer to the Nuke Proof announcement, I think 3 days before, I was just sat with Noah. I was like, "We've got everything, but it's messy." I was
Okay.
like, "If I push this out as an announcement, I feel like it's going to be the same as everyone else's riding video." Then, luckily, out of nowhere, that night it snowed, and it was like me and Noah just had this light bulb moment. It's like we've got to film it in the snow, aren't we? It's like we just got to do it. So I think that took half an hour to film that video, and he had it edited, finished. Noah made the music in it as well, so it's like where the heavy drums come in as well. Noah sound designed all that, made all the music himself. So it was like a super creative video, even outside of the riding. It was like he's really put his time into the edit, and yeah, mastered that. So that was all done and dusted in a day. It was like that's the announcement that we need, and that'll be the way to kick it off. But then we're just sat now on so many clips from like Barcelona. It's like I don't know what to do with him. But yeah, that it's just crazy, like how life can change like that. And the past 4 months have been mint. Like I've noticed such a big difference, and I've not even said this online yet, but I've lost so much weight. Like, and this is because actually I can speak on it because this will be out after I've announced it. So I signed with Camelback
Oh, nice.
for this year, and obviously if they're sending me like huge water bottles and stuff, I'm gonna drink water. So that I think that's been like in the weight loss that I'm in now. Like I think that's been the biggest thing. That's just like yeah, just nailing water all day, all night, and yeah. So that was like a wicked sponsorship as well. So.
That's cool, man. What's the general reception been like from the mountain bike world? Then you've obviously got some good mates there in Macclesfield with like the Berg Tech crew, Bryson, 50 to 1, all that. Like, I've seen you've been riding with Cade Edwards and stuff. But
Yeah,
how do you feel like you've been welcomed?
yeah, 100%. Like even from the start, definitely. yeah, it's been wicked. And I think the best choice that I made 2 years ago was to go hard rock. And I think that's where I met so many people, like so many riders that I didn't even know they knew who I was, but then I've been like following them. Like Ben Deacon, when I first met him, it was like it just felt like we'd known each other for ages. Like we got on so well, and he was like really supportive, give me some really good advice as well. And every time I see Ben now, we'll always just have a little chat and just like, yeah, it's mint having people like that that can really give you a push. And yeah, hard rock was probably the biggest thing. So that I reckon I'll always be going back to hard rock just because it's like a sentimental value thing now. Then after that, I went to the Melbourne Classics, and that was the same again. It was like really, really good event, and just meeting riders there and really getting along with them. And I think the UK has such a good like riding scene, and there's so many different riders like Donny Soldier. The stuff that he's doing is just wild on a mountain bike, and like he's a good friend. Like, and yeah, just having friends like that that can really inspire you, and just go out and ride with them, and get some insight of what they do as well. Like that has been such a huge push, and it's just showing me that there is a place for me in the industry, whether I go down the route of the traditional mountain bike, which I won't be doing, but then I have the opportunity now where I can do pretty much anything, and just as long as I'm making good content, because that's like my main thing. I'm really picky with what I film, really picky with what I push out. So as long as I keep making good content, it's always gonna keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. Do you think that your like creative side helps when it comes to your riding, or
Yeah,
like does it slow things down to some extent because you're like,
without the creative side, I don't think I'd be able to do anything. And just having Noah on hand for like Noah outside of filming riding, he's also films like the music side of things. So he does like music videos, tours, and all that stuff. So me and him pretty much have the same mindset because we came from the same thing, and he also rides as well. So he knows how a riding video should look. So just having him on hand, like I'm always going to have like that strong creative mindset to just push out content.
yeah, it must be fun because you're getting to work with other creative people. I'm guessing like most riders don't have a background in like photography or video creation or music or anything like that. So to be able to bring that and work with the
Yeah,
whole creative team on a project must be pretty cool.
yeah, that's been the best thing because um, you do notice some awesome riders, no names being pushed out, but some riders have every trick in the bag, but they can't produce a good video or they can't produce good content. And I think that's why they stay with a small following and a small fan base, even though they can do everything at Crankworks level. And I think if they just spent time to try and figure out how they could do stuff in a different way, they'd go so much further. And I think the way the world's going now, even with brands, I think brands want someone who can push into them spaces. And, you know, like kids now are so creative. Like, I think we meet more creative people now than we have before. So I think the younger generation want to go down that route rather than, having to do a job. And if they see a creative rider that's pushing out some wicked content, that's just going to be light bulb moments for them.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the tools for being creative are more accessible now. Like when I was a kid, like no one could afford a video camera. Now everyone's got one on
No.
their phone. Like you can edit video, music, all sorts on most computers. Like it comes with software for it. So I think that's helping drive like more creativity maybe in like the younger generation.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, even now, them teaching it more in schools and showing that, there's so many jobs in the creative industry now. It- It's like Manchester is just a city for marketing. Anyone you speak to there, they'll just, I work in marketing. What kind of marketing? They know, just marketing. It's like literally anyone you speak to in Manchester, that is what they do. So that just
Crazy.
goes hand in hand with a creative job, really.
Yeah. And you're a bigger guy than the average mountain biker. I think that's fair to say. You've been totally
Yeah,
upfront about that. Have you found that impacts how people react to you when you like when you turn up at a riding spot,
yeah.
maybe?
Anyway, it's so funny when I was in Barcelona. Like anywhere I go, the first 10 minutes, as anyone does, they're like, "Feel out skate park." Then I think all the locals were sat on this bench at the side, and I was just filming with my best mate Rick. We set up the drone, and they're like, Jesus Christ. And I just started throwing down like flares, big massive tail whips over gaps. And they're all just sat there like, what the hell is going on? And when me and Rick have left, Rick's turned around and he's like, yeah, you saw that, didn't you? I was like, obviously I did. I felt it. I didn't see it. Like, yeah, that's so weird. Rick's just texted me now as I said his name. Yeah, that's very weird. Um, but yeah, definitely felt it in Barcelona, as well as like when I rid the Dirt Factory as well before I started making friends there. Definitely felt it. But then I think coaching had such a huge help because as soon as I got deep into coaching, a lot of the larger riders would rather come to me because I can give them advice on what they can ride and what they should be riding and how they should have their bike set up. So I think it's a gift and a curse, but I've never let things get to me. So it's like it's not bothered me. I just find it super funny. Like, and I think if I can do it, then there's no reason why other people do it. And shout out a lass called Kat Donahue. I met her through coaching, but she's like such a good friend now. And seeing when she first started to where she is now, it's like it's day and night. Like her riding's come on so well, and just seeing that from my perspective, seeing a larger rider push to the limits, like is so good. And there's so many other riders out there as well. Like I think his name's Normal Mountain Biker on Instagram. Like he's a large dude, rides for Specialized, and he's not the wildest of rider, but his content that he pushes out is so positive, and you can tell that with that content, it goes a long way. So yeah, I think having people like myself in the riding industry now, it's just a massive influence for other larger riders to really get out and ride. And it's
100%.
pretty much every day, from all around the world, I'll get a message off someone and I'll always hit them up back and just like, yeah, keep going for it and just enjoy yourself while you're doing it.
That's cool. I was going to ask if being a coach who doesn't fit the regular mold of what a mountain biker looks like, whether you feel that's brought people to coaching that otherwise might not.
Yeah, so not only I coach myself, I do it for the bike shop as well. And there have been some clients where you turn up and they're looking like, who's this guy? Then I'll just like ride and they're like, oh, right, I get it now. But it's like when, I don't know why, but always when I coach for Dirt Factory, it's always like really wealthy clients and like their mindset works a little bit different to your average Joe. So I think they definitely have like a perception as soon as they turn up of what they want. And yeah, but either way, they still get through the coaching session and everyone's been a success so far. So
Nice. What
it's
drove
good.
you to coach him?
All my friends forced me into it. I definitely got forced into it. Like, my friend Morgan, he doesn't really ride anymore because work's took over his life. But every time I'd ride with him, like I'd always be feeding him information and do this, do that, and you'll get there. And seeing that work, back to the mechanic at the bike shop as well. He's just been like, mate, you just need to start coaching. I was like, I don't really want to though. It's a bit like different. But then I did a couple of sessions for the bike shop. Then it was like, all right, I'm hooked into it now, and it's so rewarding. Like I coach at Greystone skate park every Tuesday and Friday as well, and coaching kids on Tuesdays. I do like young kids, and that's so rewarding. Like taught someone how to backflip last night, which was like mega, and just teaching them tricks. It's like seeing someone so young do such amazing things. It's mental. But yeah, the reward that I get for it when I get the train back home is like that was definitely worth it. It's all worth it.
Yeah, you've described yourself as helper of the people. Is that, I guess, coaching's part of that, right?
Yeah, as well as like probably shouldn't say this if any sponsors are watching, but most of my old parts, I'll always give to someone that I've seen doing something sick. So like my old Marine, have you come across Nasher from Scotland?
Yeah.
Wicked rider. Wicked rider does amazing stuff for like his community. And when I went up to Scotland, it was like being with my younger self or like my little brother. And I even said to him, I was like, mate, you remind me so much of myself from when I was younger. I think he's only like 16, but then when it came to selling my bikes, I sold him the Marin for such a cheap price. I look back at it now, why did I do that? But yeah, seeing what he's doing on that bike is wicked, and I always just like to help people out where I can, as well as like in terms of the amount of shoes we get sent for Adidas. It's like a man can only wear one pair of shoes. So once like I'm through with him, like I'll always help out a friend who's like maybe can't afford to buy at retail. So I'll always just help out people around me. And, you know, if I can ride at my level, then I might as well share what I'm enjoying with my friends and people around me and keep them riding.
Yeah.
I think in the long run, brands probably want someone to do that and like help out people around them, because in the long run, it will just make them go back to buying from the brand. So it probably works out.
Definitely. And you're in this position now where you have influence, and that's only going to grow from here pretty massively, would be my guess. Like, how do you, I mean, that's a responsibility as well to some extent, I suppose.
Yeah,
so like,
for sure.
How do you look at it? How do you deal with it?
Well, how I describe to my friends is like my day to days never change, because even when I was in the photography industry, like I never worked a 9 to 5, so it was like I kind of had so much freedom to do what I want, and seeing how my life's changed, yeah, massively, like professional mountain biking now. But when I actually narrow it down, my day to day is still the same. So my influence is always going to be the same as what it always has been. And if someone draws influence from that attitude, then I'm all for it. And I think, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And the background that I come from, not a lot of people make it even off the estate. So having the opportunity now to travel the world is like, yeah, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I said that, but I just remembered my friend just became a professional boxer. He lives up the road from me, so it's wicked. And she actually won second in the Olympics. So,
no way.
Yeah,
incredible.
Wicked having like someone off my estate that's also doing pretty big thing.
Yeah, that's incredible to see. So how do you think like mountain biking's doing from a diversity perspective? Because it's traditionally been middle class white male, and that is it feels like that's starting to change, but it feels like we got a long way to go.
Yeah, so I think because I started the project with Adidas 2 years ago, we've really stretched it out, because I think if we put it out last year, it would have been rushed, and I would have missed so many things that I've learned this year and towards the end of last year. But overall, I don't think much is changing. I think when I started the project, I made sure that I didn't want to cross over to what the diversity situation is in America, because I don't know America. I've only met Elliot Jackson once, and wicked guy, but you can tell with his message it's very American.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really cross over to the UK. So I feel like the UK does need to, in terms of the mountain bike industry, the UK definitely has a massive push. And they can't just use me as an example, because I'm only one name. So I'm one name against thousands. And it's like, you can't use that as a kind of example. But I think there's many riders that will come up and flourish, but I don't think anyone will get to the level where I'm at now. And I'm only just starting my career. So if I think from my perspective they might not be able to get to this level, then how's someone going to push through to get further? I think that's like my biggest fear in the diversity situation at the moment. But then, like going back to Nasher, I think if he keeps riding the way that he is, there's no way how he can't. And you can tell through his content, it's like, it's so warming to watch his content. Like he does like somewhat of a skit at the start, and it's like, and he's from Zimbabwe as well. So Zimbabwe's some Norwegian, Scottish. You can tell watching his content, like both his heritages shine through so bright, and it's like if someone like that is influencing people in Scotland, it's only going to work for him. Like, there's no way it can't work for him.
What would it take then to like improve the situation and to give more opportunity for some of these riders to make it to like your level and beyond? What do you think needs to change?
Yeah, I just think having a good structure of every mountain biker, every professional mountain biker to speak to, they've always had a plan, and they need to kind of figure out their plan and stick to it. So everyone has a plan, stick to that, keep the ball rolling with it, and you're gonna get to where you're going. And I think it's gonna have to come within the community to do something. But then I think brands have such a, I don't know how to say it, it's like brands have a criteria of what they want before they even want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look at a lot of the UK riders, especially enduro riders, it takes such a massive thing to be different than the next enduro rider. So it's like if someone was to just go down the enduro route from a black or Asian community, they're going to have to work 3 times as hard as a white male. And that's my perspective on it. And I think unless they're going to be winning enduro races, they're just going to get left in the past kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's going to be such a big struggle if someone was to go down that route. But whereas free ride is arguably harder in some areas, but then again, it's not as hard as a race. So I think if they're going to go down a free ride route, they're going to have to be, again, 3 times better than the next person. So it's always going to lead back to that. You got to basically outshine like your average, what we know as a rider, and what we see in magazines all the time. So unless they're working at that rate, I just don't think it's feasible.
Seems kind of crazy though, because like we're in this world where there's so much mountain bike content that it's really hard for brands to like stand out and actually get people to tune in. So actually showing someone different, like doing something fresh and unique and different, you'd have thought that would be attractive to brands.
Yeah, maybe? you'd have thought it'd been that had been so easy for them to do. But yeah, we've still not seen it yet, and I think it's going to take some years. But then in the mountain bike industry at the minute, there's so many changes, and how often is it where you see a new group of riders come through? It's like every 3 to 5 years we'll see a change. Like, not to slate these guys, but Sam Reynolds, Matt Jones, Brendan Fairclough, like they're riding at the minute. I feel really horrible saying it, but I just don't think that's targeting a younger generation. Like that's like middle-aged men content and middle-aged men riding. All of them rip, all of them are absolutely awesome riders, but I just think for the next generation coming through, are these people going to be who they're looking at? And yeah, I think that's like going to be the divide. I think, you know, there's so many riders from the UK as well, what you can look towards for inspiration. So it's tough. It is tough. And I get from a brand's perspective, you know, they've got to narrow down what's going to bring them in revenue and where their budget goes. But I just think, yeah, it's time for a big change. And yeah, we need that. Them riders that come in every 3 to 5 years, we need them in like thick and fast.
Yeah. So who should we be looking at then? Who stands out to you? You've mentioned, is it Nashi?
Nasha Makusha. I say in a few years, definitely someone to look out for. Now he's just finding his feet. Obviously, Alex Storr is doing crazy things, you know, riding for Forbidden, and his riding is just insane. And he's a young lad as well, so he's definitely someone who's coming through the ranks at the moment, but I feel like has potential to be massive. And there's so many names that I can think of, but I can't just narrow it down. Did you see the 50-1 Youngins video?
I haven't seen it yet. No, is that worth a watch?
So that yeah, definitely. That came out a few weeks ago, and these are lads from same little town where Rat Boy's from. A little lad called Luke Clayton. I think he's just turned 14. And my theory with him is that because he doesn't look 14, he's not getting the 14-year-old treatment that Finn Davis, he's a common style rider from down south.
Uh-huh.
Awesome rider, deserves to be professional, obviously, but I think because he looks 14, he's definitely like got the edge on what Luke doesn't. And I think because Luke looks about 16, 17, it's definitely taken his career like a bit of a different way.
Yeah.
But it's sick to see the 50-1 boys have sorted him out and got him rolling in that aspect. But I think his name is going to be one to watch for when he's 17, 18. Like some of the stuff that he's riding at the minute as well is like I couldn't even dream of doing.
Amazing. I'll check it out for sure. So what's your plan then, man? Where do we go from here? It feels like you're just at the start of something huge.
Yeah. So next thing that I'm going to be working on filming wise is going to work on something with Schwalbe and kind of just do something for all their tires. And just my idea behind it is like, why does a mountain bike tire need to be a mountain bike tire? So we want to take it into the streets and see how much we can push the paces with it. And yeah, just a couple more cool ideas and hopefully get some more stuff done with Nukeproof. I can't say anything, but there's some really sick riders about to come on board that you'd never even think would ride for Nukeproof.
Okay.
But yeah, so definitely I want to get some videos done with them. Yeah, just create content really, and I'll definitely probably be at the Malvern Classic this year. So anyone listening, come down and party and have a laugh with some riders. Yeah, Hard Rock as well. I'll be there. Don't know if I'm racing enduro, but I'll definitely be there because it's a wicked event. And yeah, just a few bits and bobs like that, and yeah, more coaching, more riding, more filming.
Nice.
That's kind of the goal.
Is something like Crankworks on your radar? Will we ever see you there? Like,
nah, never. Probably see me there cheering on my friends. I've got a really good relationship with Thomas Lemoyne, and we met last year, and he feels like a brother to me. Like, I love him, and I'd love to go out and support him and watch him and Cage shred. And yeah, a couple of other Crankworks riders I get along with really well, and it's hype to see that they support me in that way. Like Nikolai Rogatkin showing love from mad early stage from when I was riding. So I'd love to go out and watch it, but in terms of riding it, it's just not for me. And yeah, another rider that I forgot to mention before was Jake Atkinson. Just came back to me then.
Jake who? Sorry.
Jake Atkinson.
Okay.
I think he's only 20, but best slopestyle rider in the UK. But he's not getting that push that he needs.
Okay.
And I think he's from the Lake District as well, so it's crazy how he's got to that level of riding because he doesn't even have a riding spot within 2 hours from him. So anytime he rides, he's got to drive 2 hours.
Insane.
But that just shows where his drive comes from and why he is just riding the way that he is.
I'll try and dig up some Instagram handles and stick them in the show notes so people can check out some of these riders. That'd be good to do. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time, man. We should wrap up with our final 4 questions. The first of those is, if our listeners had £150 to spend to improve their performance on a bike or to have more fun on a bike, what should they go spend it on?
Something came to mind instantly, but then I'm thinking something I'm really into. So the first thing that came to mind was a dropper post.
Okay.
Because you always need a dropper post.
100%.
On my gravel bike, I've not got one at the minute, and I'm dying to put a dropper post on it. And Bergtech pedals. Like, honest to God, if I had to advise one product for anyone, it'd be a set of the metal Bergtech pedals.
Yeah.
Because you ain't falling out of them. You might as well be clipped in.
All right, good stuff. Second one, if you could wind back the clock and sit down with yourself age 16, what advice would you give him?
It's so weird because when I was 16, I was in the mindset now where I knew that I just wanted more to life. So I'd just say, just keep doing what you're doing and you know you're going to see people doing bad things in the future, and life's going to change as an adult, but just stay on the right path, then you'll get there.
Nice, good advice. I like it. All right, third one. If you could have a coaching session from anyone, who would it be, and what would you want to learn from them?
Max Fredriksson.
Okay.
I don't know why Max Fredriksson. I just think everything that he does on a bike is so slick and neat, and how often I see him fall is near never. So I don't know what trick I'd want to learn from him, but I definitely need to see him ride in person, because I need to think, like, is everything first time? Because it definitely looks way too clean to be true.
Is there?
It's crazy.
Is there a trick you'd really like to have in your bag?
Nah. Without sounding arrogant, I think I can do everything I wanted to do.
It's good, man.
And I like well, I ride dirt jumper Tuesday, Friday, and most of them sessions I'm like continuously doing tricks. I just can't bother filming them because they look the same as what everyone else is doing. So it's like I could put out bangers all the time, and Noah's always on to me that I need to film and edit like that. But weirdly, it doesn't interest me. I think like making something relatable that a fan can watch and go, I could probably do that. I think that's way more interesting than doing something that's like Crankworks level, like that looks like it's going to take me 10 years to learn. So yeah, I think there's no main trick that I'd want to do, but if my advice was just basically do what you're going to do and have fun with it.
Yeah, fair play. All right, last one. What do you do every day that you feel benefits you?
Damn, that's a good one. There's not a day where I go where I don't ride. Like whether that be going to a friend's house or riding skate park, riding the endurers. Like I can't remember the last day I went without being on a bike, and having the gravel bike now, that's just opened up so many doors. Like go to the shop, I'll do it. Like no questions asked. Whereas before Christmas, like I was super lazy, even down to like my apartment in Manchester was right next to a shop, and like if my ex-girlfriend had asked me to go, I'd be like, oh no, make excuses. But then my New Year's resolution was just don't be lazy, and I have actually stuck to it. And even like now, because I live back home with my mum and sister, like my sister asks me anything, she just knows I'm gonna do it before I even do it. So yeah, like yeah, New Year's resolution's been don't be lazy. So that's it. Keep riding every day and just don't be lazy.
Fair play. Sounds good to me. Well, it's been super interesting, man, finding out more about you and your background. I'm really excited to see where it all goes. If people want to follow this journey, where should they be looking?
Instagram, Lando Steezy, and my photography page is Lando Steezy with 3 E's.
Okay.
Which not a lot of people know exists. But yeah, if you always hear me talk about photography and think, where are the pictures to prove? It's the same, just with one more E.
Awesome. I'll stick links to both of those in the show notes. I'll link the Shimano video as well, and dig out a few other bits and link to some of those riders we talked about. But yeah, thanks for the time, man. It's been really fun chatting.
No problem. I'm going to get out and go for a ride because it's well sunny outside.
Yeah, it's a lovely day. Nice one, man.
Yeah, it is. Take care, man.
Cheers, bud.
Bye.